Greetings, paper demons! In this video I'm going to give a channel update and life update. During this video I'm showing a time lapse of the art I created for the Vogue vampire boss. Hopefully the boss is still going to be alive by the time this video goes out. It all depends on how quickly I get this video up and how quickly you paper demons vanquish him. If you want to participate in that art RPG boss fight, check out the link in the description below. So previously on this channel, I was doing instructional live streams and then editing them down into instructional art videos. I'm probably not going to be able to do those types of streams and videos for a little while. In case you haven't heard the news, I gave birth to my son in February. So that's kind of why things have been pretty slow around here in terms of streaming. I took a break from live streaming for several months so I could focus more on my time with my son, bonding time with him. Currently, I'm also still the primary caretaker for my son, so I am managing both like being full-time caretaker and managing the business. So my time has been more limited. I did try to delegate some of the social media stuff. I've tried a couple times, haven't quite landed on something that's worked for me, so I'm gonna try doing this myself for a little while again. I've had like video editors do stuff for me and that kind of thing. But it still just like requires too much hands-on work from me at this point, so what I'm planning to do on this channel going forward for at least probably the next year is to do art time-lapse videos like this one. So you're probably seeing right now on the screen a time-lapse of some art I was working on in the past with some voiceover. Because these are fairly easy to do, they don't require a lot of my time, but they're still kind of interesting to watch and listen to. So maybe you're even drawing along right now. Another thing is for streaming, we're going to be doing a lot of Let's Draws. In the past, I have tried doing streams where I draw and then chat with the chat, and I found that those were not really high value for the community and were also kind of stressful for me. I'm not the greatest conversationalist, but I'm experimenting with a kind of an altered format to that. I'm calling them Let's Draw events, where I have like a co-host with me and we talk about different things, and we may even have some structure. So the last couple Let's Draws, we actually ran some giveaways, and the event was themed around the current art RPG challenge that we're running on PaperDemon. So I think that format works really well. It's a lot easier for me, for my anxiety, for my social anxiety, that just the format works better than what I see a lot of other artists do with their streams, which is I'm going to draw and then I'm going to chat with the chat. That format doesn't really work too well for me unless I'm actually doing an instructional stream. Like in the past when I've done an educational stream where I'm like teaching you art concepts or whatever, and I'm getting questions from the chat and I'm answering those questions, those work really well. The problem is those require a lot more planning on my part. I need to plan out what is my curriculum that I'm going to teach, preparing slides and examples, preparing demonstrations. So I think for those, like, I do want to do those again, but I don't have the time to commit to those at the moment, so I'm just going to be doing some simpler videos like this one for a little while and see what the reception is, as well as those Let's Draw events, because I think with the Let's Draws, one, they're not only are they easier for me, as I previously explained, but they're also, I feel like they're higher value for the community, because it's like, hey, come sit down and draw with us and just like, let's just chat and hang out and keep it casual. So it's kind of like a body double type thing, where you have like time that you've put on your calendar, where our community members are setting aside time, like, okay, I'm gonna draw at this time and I'm drawing at the same time as everyone else, and I might actually get some rewards out of it because we're doing giveaways. We're also doing some experimenting with some collaboration with some other communities. You may have already seen that we did a live stream with the Amaro community. We're going to do some more stuff with them. Stay tuned. In addition, I wanted to kind of talk about in this video just some life updates maybe about 6 weeks ago, I got diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. You know, within the PaperDemon community, we're very open about mental health. That's an important thing for us to talk about and be honest about and just kind of normalize. For me, like I was warned ahead of time. Like my healthcare providers were like, hey, you have a history of anxiety and depression. You are very much at high risk of getting postpartum depression. So once I figured out that I had it, I knew what to do. And I just like contacted my therapist and I contacted my psychiatrist. And I'm like, hey, I need some help. Help me out. I think I have postpartum depression. And they're like, okay, you know, start treatment, you know, that kind of thing. So by the time I figured out what it was, you know, I don't think I really had shame about it. I think I was ready to accept it as a reality pretty quickly. And that allowed me to get treatment right away. I know that's not the same story for other people, but just because I have a history of self-awareness and prior history with getting treatment for mental illness, it's a little bit easier. It's a lower barrier for me. And because my healthcare providers like talked with me ahead of time saying like, hey, this is a thing that is probably going to happen. Please create a plan for yourself and, you know, talk with your therapist about putting together a plan so that if it happens, you know what to do, which was really helpful. The thing was, it took me a while to figure out that I had it because my primary symptom was anger, and I did not know that anger was a symptom of postpartum depression. And apparently it's really common, but isn't really something that is as widely talked about. You know, usually when you think of depression, you think of sadness and like lack of motivation to do anything and just like, you know, crying, which I finally did have some crying, which is when I finally figured out that I had it. But for a whole month before that, at least, I had some serious issues with anger. And I don't want to talk too much about what triggered those things because they're kind of personal. But I will say that some of it just has to do with the cultural expectations put upon a mother are higher than are high. Let's just say that. They're high. And it's hard to keep up with everything. There's too many expectations that were put on me and that I put on myself. In addition to that, I love PaperDemon so much, and it is before having a baby, it was my full-time job to work on PaperDemon and to cultivate this business. And we have so much cool stuff planned that I am really, really excited about. Like genuinely, like there's so much mechanics that we're planning to launch in the game. A lot of new content we're planning, and I really want to work on it. And I haven't been able to because one, my time is spent caring for my little baby who I love and adore very much, but I also want to have some semblance of my own life, right? Because it was when the baby's born, it's like suddenly it's a very stark change of like suddenly every moment is spent tending to the needs of someone else, and it's like a shock to the system. And I was mourning the loss of the life that I once had, even though I'm extraordinarily grateful for my son and to have him in my life. I love him to pieces. But I also miss the freedom that I had, and it felt almost like my own dreams were being sacrificed, which is something I was very much afraid of before having children, and was part of the reason why I delayed having children so much later in life. Like if I had a daughter and she was older, like an adult, and she was thinking about whether she could have children or whether she could fulfill her dreams and she had to choose between the two, I would tell her, you don't have to choose between the two, you can do both. You can fulfill your dreams and have a family. You don't have to choose between those two things. And that's part of the reason that drove me to fulfill my own dreams, is I wouldn't want my children to think that they can't, that their life ends at the moment that they have children. Like, I don't believe in that. So that's, I don't know if I might be kind of rambling and not really making sense in the moment, but what I'm trying to say is, like, it was really important to me that I continue to have a sense of myself and my own dreams and pursuing my own dreams and creative pursuits, because I have a purpose beyond just being a mother for being on this earth. I have a purpose to create, to help others, to contribute to the world in some way, beyond just being a mother to my son. So that was part of where the anger and frustration and depression was coming in, was just this need to do all these things that I wanted that I couldn't for a while. And I kind of had to learn to embrace asking for help, getting, family to help me, babysit, friends and family. Another challenge has just been mommy brain. Since my son was born, my brain has kind of been in a fog. It's been a lot harder to focus, to sit down and do something like coding that requires a lot of mental energy and concentration. It's definitely gotten better over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've actually been coding a lot and feeling a lot better about it, but when you take a long break from coding, it can take a while to ramp back up with it again. Having a baby changes your brain. There's differences that happen that make it harder to think. Additionally, just like, because my son, you could probably hear his toys rattling in the background there. Sorry about that. But, he has needs, right? And I get interrupted constantly while I'm working because I need to tend to his needs. And, I'm not like trying to say that that's a bad thing or anything. It's just that for me, as I'm trying to work, it makes it very difficult to maintain focus because I'm being constantly interrupted. And so that's been like, I feel at the end of the day a lot less productive because I had a lot bigger aspirations for what I was actually going to get accomplished. Being a mom is hard. It's a lot of work. There's other things I could get into too, but I will say, like, treatment. I've been going through treatment. My battle with postpartum depression has gotten a lot better over the last few weeks. I feel like my case of postpartum depression and anxiety is not that severe, at least right now. I think in part because as soon as I recognized it, I'm like, okay, time for treatment. Another thing that kind of triggered the postpartum depression that I meant to mention as well is I went through a really, really stressful event right before I realized that I had it. And so when you go through like a really stressful event, it can trigger postpartum depression. So my husband got COVID and he didn't realize he had it for the first couple days. And because of that, he quarantined, and I and my son were both exposed to him. So because of that, we also had to quarantine too, but separately, because we didn't know if we had it or not. His case was mild and he recovered just fine. My husband quarantined in the master bedroom, and then, I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm taking care of my son by myself for the whole 10-day duration or whatever. And that was extraordinarily stressful. I couldn't get any help at all because we were exposed. It could be that we had it and we might give it to someone else. So no one could come over and help us. It was really, really hard. I would get up. I would wake up to him crying and need to go tend to his needs and tend to his needs the whole day, put him down, and I'd be exhausted and fall asleep as soon as he went to sleep because I was that depleted of energy. And I was already really, really tired and exhausted because certain circumstances before that had caused me to already be pretty burnt out. So it was just really, really stressful. Also, I had to wear a mask the whole time I was around my son because there was the chance that I had COVID and I didn't want to pass it to him. It was also really hot. We were going through a heat wave. Oh, it was miserable. And I came out of that so angry and depleted of energy and run down. And I'm like, holy shit, I have postpartum depression. I need to get help. So I've been doing some individual therapy. I've also been doing some journaling. I found a workbook online. I really like workbooks. I don't know about other people, but sometimes groups. I did try a postpartum group, and I'm like, it wasn't really for me. I tried it. It didn't really work. But I really like workbooks where I like buy a book and it has specific things that I have to read and think about and then journal about. So it's like got prompts. It's like very like you just follow along and you go through it and you write in it. And that was so helpful because I had all these feelings and I didn't understand why. And the workbook kind of helped me to see, oh, you are angry because of this. This is a common reason why you might be angry, you know, journal about it. And then when you write about it, then you start to accept it and move past it. One of the things I'm working on right now is trying to spend some more time with self-care, which is, it's really hard. I mean, when you're a mother, when you're a parent, you know, you're spending so much of your time and energy caring for another person, and you just kind of put your own needs aside. I mean, it's really hard to make time for yourself. I mean, those first 6 months, I was very stinky. I didn't take showers because my time was so limited. I just didn't want to spend it on a shower. And then I felt awful because I was stinky. Thankfully, there's no smell-o-vision. But I've been much better at prioritizing showers the last couple weeks. I had a shower today, in fact. I've also been restarting I do something called Miracle Morning. I think I'm going to do another separate video talking about that. I may have mentioned it in past videos, but it's like a self-care thing. So yeah, that's kind of where the state of things is at. Like I am doing a lot better now. I've kind of processed a lot of my anger and emotions that I've had about transitioning to motherhood, and I'm now like in a more of an accepted state. I'm accepting the fact that I'm not going to get as many hours of work done in a day as I used to, at least for now, and I'm going to try and enjoy the time that I have with my son. So expect that these videos are just kind of, I'm not going to keep a schedule with these. I'm just going to kind of do them when I have time, when I feel like it, when I feel inspired to talk about something. You know, expect that they're going to be imperfect because I don't have the time to make them shiny, and the sound might have some crinkling or banging of toys or something in the background, or little sounds of my son playing nearby if I happen to record it while he's awake. So just bear with me during this period of my life. Thanks for listening. I join the mailing list if you want to know when our next Let's Draw live stream is going to be. Please give this video a like. It helps the channel out a lot. And click subscribe. And yeah, click all the things. Are you looking to get motivated with your art? Check out the PaperDemon art role-playing game. It's a game where you get rewarded for drawing your original character exploring the Paperverse. Links are in the description below.